So I just watched the new episode of American Dad, Season 18, Episode 13, Productive Panic, and it was an amazing episode. I'm saying that mainly because of the obvious metaphor and the fact that it was a Francine episode, which are some of my personal favorites because Francine is my second favorite character. But this is also an episode I would label artistic, especially the ending, but we'll get to that. There were a number of references to previous episodes though, and we got the return of Delmonico. So I'm going to break down the story and any references or setups that they hid throughout the episode. I also want to mention that next week's episode is called Multiverse of American Dadness, and it looks amazing. Definitely going to be plenty to break down in that episode. But anyways, spoiler alert if you haven't seen this one, and on to the show. The episode opens out front of a house party at the Yoshida residence. Stan and Francine are talking about wanting to impress everyone at Hideki's party. Right off the bat, this is a reference to, or just a narrative continuation of, 2 seasons ago in Season 16, Episode 21, when Stan is impressed by Hideki's house and is desperate to impress him.
ツイッターで俺に文句言ってみろ。実生活で支障をきたすことになるからな。
Oh, Toshi, one of these days you'll have to teach me Japanese.
Stan also drops the hint here about Francine's pottery.
Aren't you out in the shed doing little potteries or something?
My pottery, Stan? Oh my god!
Something new that they wanted to establish before it was used later in the episode. After the theme song, we get into the party, and the known characters I'm aware of that are present outside of the Smiths and the Yoshidas are Snot and his mom, Barry and his parents, Tuttle, Buckle and his wife Charisse, and Greg. That's everyone I spotted who I could recognize, at least. Roger meets Gary Gogo, a rich art collector who comes into play later in the story, and he's just as surprised by it as I was.
I heard Gary Gogo is here, the biggest art dealer in the world. They say he's totally over-the-top ridiculous, a billionaire.
That's me! I'm Gary Gogo!
No shit? I thought it was gonna be me.
Hideki spends the party bragging and getting others to brag, and Francine spends the party avoiding him. But eventually, he manages to ask her what she's been doing, and she runs to the bathroom in a panic to avoid the question, but Hideki follows her. Now, if you haven't seen the episode, this is your last chance, but this is technically where the imaginary part starts. It has for sure started by the time she looks in the mirror, but the way Hideki says that last bit, it just really sounds to me like it could be part of her imagination too.
We're all waiting for you when you come out, Francine.
She breaks the bathroom window to escape and has to wrestle a peacock for her keys, creating a spectacle and embarrassing herself a little bit. The next day, after the family has left for all their various activities, she says she's now a loser like Klaus, and asks to show him her pottery shed. She doesn't approve of her own work though, saying she's made tons of bowls and wrecked them all because they were all garbage and not good enough. She prepares to destroy her most recent artwork, but Klaus stops her and challenges her to show the bowl off at a local coffee shop's art shelf. On the art shelf, we have a couple Easter eggs too though. Of the 3 names on the art shelf, 2 of them are actually either producers or assistant producers, Shan Sobel and Zaida Rodriguez. And seeing those names there actually makes me wonder how many other hidden names there are in the older seasons. But anyways, she hesitates but eventually agrees, and in classic cartoon fashion, it instantly pays off.
Francine Smith, I'm Gary Gogo, the biggest art dealer in the world, and I love your bowl.
Francine then starts getting invited to events and interviews, and she's happy, until she hears the question that many artists or creators of any kind despise.
I think we're all wondering, what's next?
Next?
She panics and doesn't have an answer, but Gary offers his friend's creative space cabin for her to go work out of while she creates her next masterpiece. She goes, but she has a much harder time making her next bowl than she expected. All the same, she eventually finishes it as a double bowl, and tells Klaus to have it delivered to Gary while she sleeps. Klaus instead delivers a lump of clay that had been sitting on the table next to the bowl, and fills her bowls with chips and dip instead. After she wakes up, she panics, knowing it had already been delivered and believing her career was over, and dreading the interview at Morning Mimosa she had next. She shows up anyways, and it turns out that everyone loved her new piece, believing that the lump of clay really was her art. and that it was good. She tries to explain herself, but accidentally shatters her real art piece instead, which Trish and Suze take to mean that the shards of clay are now her new artwork and announce that they love it. This is where the episode takes another turn, but this time more into the Twilight Zone. The entire crowd goes crazy shouting they love the shards too. Francine can't believe it, and she runs out of the building, only to find the family standing right outside, all already wearing shards merch, even though that literally just happened. It's at this point Francine believes she's gone crazy and turns herself into the mental hospital. All of the staff there just keep telling her she needs to wait to see the director, but it's really creepy in there, so she tries to escape. The nurse finally reveals her blank face and says,
"The director will see you now."
She falls through the floor and into a cave where the director, a big scary monster, finally reveals itself to be a child. Now I'm gonna risk it and play an edit of the next scene here just because of how beautiful I think it is. I am gonna edit it pretty heavily though.
I'm the director, and my conclusion is you're not worthy. You're bad and you belong in the garbage forever.
Whew. Okay. That just feels true. It's hard to hear, but it's good to hear. I'm relieved, honestly.
Go. Get in there.
When you're right, you're right. Just really quick, because it's gonna bother me. Have we met? Oh my God. You're me.
Yeah, so?
If you're me, why are you telling me I'm bad?
Because you are bad. We are. We're nothing. Don't you remember?
I made that mug in kindergarten, and everyone laughed.
And the laughter felt like bullets.
But I'm remembering it was fun to make.
It's a flop.
Well, I love it. It's very you. I guess it's very me. And I think we're great. I'm sorry you've been feeling so bad about yourself. I'd really love it if you came with me.
But I don't know what's out there.
It's just the world, and you deserve to be part of it. Come on, I got you.
That scene is just so beautiful. I honestly think they should win an Oscar for this episode. Most people don't take animated comedy shows seriously, or comedy shows in general, and they don't usually like it when they get serious. But I think all these shows have their serious moments, and this is one of the top ones for American Dad in my opinion. It didn't really feel like a comedy show this episode, it felt like a work of art. But anyways, after leaving the cave, Francine comes back to the moment before she had broken the window, realizing it had all been in her head. And she rushes out to tell Hideki what she had been up to.
I just had the world's most productive panic attack.
Okay, cool.
And the episode ends with another beautiful metaphor in the shape of a 5-second scene, with the metaphorical young Francine working on her pottery, and the older Francine, instead of giving it the thumbs down that she had earlier, showing her self-support instead. I really love the lessons in this episode, particularly of learning not to judge yourself so harshly, and to be supportive of yourself and allowing your inner self to express itself. That's all I've got for this video. But if there's anybody watching who's been working on a book or a video or a podcast, painting, video game, poem, sculpture, song, whatever, any artwork of any kind, you and your art are good enough. What you have created is beautiful because you created it. Don't be afraid to share it with the world. We'd be so lucky. Thanks for watching.